Hello and welcome to another episode of A Brief History. Today's episode, Splatoon. Ready, set, go. June 10th, 2014. With the first and third-person shooter genre having dominated the gaming industry for over a decade, many people were beginning to feel that the genre was growing stale. For years, games like Call of Duty and Battlefield have been gaining large amounts of flack for feeling like the same game released with a different skin every year. Not to mention the criticism given to the genre's focus on gritty realism, leaving little room for potential innovation and expanded creativity, with a few exceptions. And if there's any company bent on innovation and creativity, it's the granddaddy of gaming itself, Nintendo. However, over the decades since the popularization of the shooter, Nintendo had failed to really toss their hat into the ring, seemingly content to pursue more family-oriented and social experiences such as Wii Sports and Super Smash Bros. And any attempts at shooter-style titles released by Nintendo were usually developed by second or third-party developers, such as Rare's GoldenEye 007 and Retro Studios' Metroid Prime series. But it was at this time, during E3 2014, that gamers were shown what they thought would never happen: an online multiplayer-driven third-person shooter developed as a brand new first-party IP, all from Nintendo. And this IP was to be known as Splatoon. Having begun development the previous year, the original idea behind Splatoon was created by Shintaro Sato of the Animal Crossing development team. The game's concept began simply as a team-based territory control shooter centered around the use of colored ink, as opposed to, bullets. And while Nintendo management approved this basic prototype for further development, there were still many doubts regarding the game's appeal.
You see, at this point in its development, the game we are discussing did not look like this. It looked like this.
Oh yeah, imagine playing a high-energy round of Splatoon with these Duplo bricks. So, needless to say, developers were struggling to figure out what exactly the appeal of their little shooter game was going to be. They were full of ideas, but their game lacked a clear focus. So, in order to combat this, the team began expanding on the gameplay mechanics, adding the ability to hide within the ink, as well as adding some much-needed height and verticality to the game's maps. But one of the biggest gaps in the game's development were its characters, or lack thereof. Surprisingly enough, the furb heads used in the prototype weren't good enough to sell a game on their own, so the team toyed around with multiple different designs for characters. Several ideas were considered, including anthropomorphic rabbits, robots, and even Mario characters. But the developers failed to find any real reason why rabbits or robots would be shooting ink around, so they were scrapped, and it was ultimately decided not to include Mario characters so that the game could remain a new original IP. Now, due to the game's heavy use of ink, the idea of including squid characters was a popular one amongst the team. However, the squids would still have to be able to run around and hold weapons, and the developers struggled to find anthropomorphic squids likable, so the idea was shelved. That was until early 2014 when they figured out the perfect way to both keep the squid idea and give the game a cast of incredibly likable characters. The solution was a race of shape-shifting humanoid creatures known as Inklings. Inklings, in their main playable form, take the appearance of what looks like a group of 90s skater kids who got into Hayley Williams' hair dye and makeup stash and got kinda carried away. However, during battle, these raccoon-eyed ink gun-toting Warped Tour attendees could transform themselves into squids, granting them the ability to swim through ink and perform giant leaps across game boards. And with the implementation of the Inkling characters, Splatoon's development team were finally able to fill in a lot of the blanks to their game, fleshing out their ideas and refining them into a fun and simple gameplay experience. Wrap all of this up into a highly stylized and colorful game world, and it's pretty easy to see why hype for Splatoon was growing exponentially. It appeared to be the big shakeup that both the shooter genre and Nintendo were really needing. And having been backed by some impressive marketing stunts, including multiple global demos, a massive special event in Santa Monica known as the Splatoon Mess Fest, and even some crossovers with the manga series Squid Girl in Japan, Splatoon was finally released on May 29th, 2015, exclusively for the Nintendo Wii U. Upon its release, Splatoon featured a handful of different gameplay modes, but the game's main events were online multiplayer battles. Known more specifically as Turf Wars, these matches pitted two teams of 4 against each other in a battle to see which team could cover the most ground with their ink within 3 minutes. Battles took place in one of 5 different arenas, each with their own unique obstacles and vantage points, and players will gain experience after each match, allowing them to level up, unlocking new weapons and gear in the process. And all of this was done using a wide variety of weapons, including everything from standard shotguns to incredibly effective paint rollers. These Turf War matches would also eventually become the focus of massive online Splatoon competition events known as Splatfests. But Turf Wars were not the only option for those playing online, for Splatoon also included a ranked battle mode. Only unlockable after reaching level 10 in online matches, ranked battles were pretty similar to Turf Wars in terms of gameplay setup, but set themselves apart by featuring different objectives. However, Nintendo did not release this mode to the public until several days after the game's launch on June 1st, 2015. 2015, as they were waiting for enough players to reach level 10. Now, at first, Ranked Battle Mode only boasted one type of match, Splat Zones, but over the course of the next few months, Nintendo expanded on it to also include Tower Control and Rainmaker matches. But for those looking for more of a one-on-one multiplayer experience, Nintendo also decided to throw in a local multiplayer mode known as the Battle Dojo, which is all about popping balloons. So yeah, at the time of its release, Splatoon really only featured a small handful of modes when it came to multiplayer. And as unique and addictive as they were, it was understandable that gamers would expect a little bit more from Nintendo. But Nintendo were one step ahead of them, for Splatoon still had one more ace up its sleeve in the form of a full-fledged single-player campaign.
What? A multiplayer-focused game that doesn't completely alienate fans of single-player experiences for the sake of doing less work? Say it ain't so!
Yes, that's right. In addition to its multiplayer mode, Splatoon also featured a 32-level story campaign known as Octo Valley. Now, where Splatoon's Turf War battles could best be described as Call of Duty meets De Blob, Octo Valley was more along the lines of Super Mario 3D World meets Ratchet & Clank, with levels primarily being a series of linear platforming challenges built around the mechanics of shooting and swimming through ink. And as if this wasn't enough, Splatoon offered up even more single-player content via Amiibo. Upon release, Splatoon saw a set of 3 exclusive Amiibo figures, which, when used, each unlocked 20 single-player challenges with their own special abilities. There were the orange and blue Inkling Amiibos, which respectively allowed players to use the charging rifle and ink roller during single-player, as well as the green Squid Amiibo, which unlocked time trial and limited ink missions. Completing these challenges would unlock new Amiibo-exclusive items, as well as in-game currency, which could then be used to buy new weapons and gear for use in online matches. So with all of this in mind, it's no surprise that Splatoon was met with large amounts of critical acclaim, with most review scores ranging between an 8 to a 9 out of 10. And while some gamers criticized the lack of voice chat during online matches, Amiibo-locked content, and a slightly rocky launch, Splatoon's fun and unique gameplay was more than enough to make up for these shortcomings. But perhaps the craziest thing is that everything we've covered so far, the gameplay modes, the special events, the unlockable content, all of that doesn't even fully represent everything that Splatoon has to offer. You see, in addition to this being Nintendo's first real foray into the realm of online shooters, Splatoon was also one of the first games by Nintendo to heavily utilize downloadable content. Ever since the game's initial release, Nintendo has continued to keep their new IP feeling fresh, engaging, and brimming with new content through a consistent stream of nearly monthly updates. One of the most notable of these updates was released on August 5th, 2015, in which Nintendo introduced tons of new gear, new weapons, an increased level cap, and 2 new friends-only multiplayer modes, Private Battles and Squad Battles. And since this update was released, Splatoon has continued to see new stages, new gameplay modes, and even more new weapons as the months go on, with the most recent update having been released on March 9th, 2016. Splatoon was a big step for Nintendo. For a company that is unfortunately considered to be pretty behind the times, Splatoon shows a true effort from Nintendo to shed that reputation, expanding beyond just Mario, Zelda, and Pokemon with something fresh and modern while still retaining the classic family-friendly Nintendo style. Between its charming 90s atmosphere, addictive gameplay, and sheer amount of content, Splatoon is arguably one of Nintendo's most unique and successful projects in years, selling well over 4 million copies to this day. And considering how much of an impact the game has made after only 1 year on the market, hopefully Splatoon is a sign of even more great, inventive projects to come from Nintendo. Thanks for watching, guys. DFTBA. Hey guys, thank you so much for watching my Splatoon video. I hope you liked it, and real quick before I go, I wanted to give a shout out to my friend T. Michael Martin. Mike is an incredibly talented YouTuber and author who has a brand new novel out right now called Mr. Fahrenheit. It's a fantastic story about a group of teenagers who accidentally shoot down a flying saucer, and I highly recommend you check it out. Mike is running a giveaway for people who order Mr. Fahrenheit, with prizes including free books for life and having a character named after you in his next book. And all you have to do is purchase a copy of Mr. Fahrenheit, ebooks count, and email your receipt to mfgiveaway@gmail.com by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Sunday, June 12th. And Mike will alert the winners by email. For more information about Mike's books and him in general, be sure to check out his channel at youtube.com/tmikemartin. Call him a squid or something. I don't know. But seriously, guys, in case you're wondering, no, I am not getting paid to say any of this. Mike is just a great dude and such a talented author, so please check out his YouTube channel and his new book, Mr. Fahrenheit, and yeah, I think that's it. So once again, thank you for watching, guys, and DFTBA.
choose you go! Use your thunder smash! Bang! What? A multiplayer-focused game that doesn't completely alienate fans of single-player experiences for the sake
Oh, geez. This is the weirdest thing I've ever done. Okay.